Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
Now, in today's sessions, we'll create all these other types of organizations, including supervisory organizations like locations. We'll understand the location hierarchy. We'll create subordinates as well. All previously, what we did is we understood the concept of supervisory organization. Now there are multiple types of organization like companies. One time, all. If I search for this maintain organization, see there's a report which says maintain organization done. You can run this report and you see there are these many different types of organizations that one can create, including companies. One of them cost center. Location and region is also on. Some organizations use region, some people use location, but I have commonly seen organizations using location as one of them. And then if I go into the hierarchy of company, hierarchy cost center, hierarchy region, hierarchy location, and many more like these, and each of them has a different purpose. In case of HR, you have matrix organization supervisory, retiree and work team. Each of them used for different purposes, but supervisory is the core foundation. And then in the pay, you have pay group and payroll company. You can also create custom organization types as in when needed, but I've not seen organizations relying on this much because reporting becomes a lot difficult when it's matrix organizations or custom organizations. We'll be creating supervisory organization, we'll be creating company, we'll be creating location, we'll be creating cost center, and also we will add locations into the location hierarchies. Now, each of these organizations has subtypes. Let's start with create company. This is the task that you have to create. And every time you create a particular type of organization, whether it's company, it's a location, it's a cost center or a supervisory organization, you have to create a reorganization event because the technical or the process or the concept that we are working with is nothing but managing different organizations, which is nothing but called as reorg or reorganization within an organization. Every time you create a type of organization, whether it's company, cost center, location, region or supervisory, it will ask you for a reorganization event. Now that does not mean that if I'm creating 10 organizations today, I have to create a separate reorganization event. If you are doing or creating organizations on a particular, and this is only specific to when you're creating organizations, not anything else. If you're creating compensation, great. This has nothing to do with that. If you're creating benefits or eligibility rule or setting up time off, nothing to do with this. This is only specific to when you are creating organizations, any type of organizations, and not all of them even ask for it. But most of them do. Let's say if I create 5 organizations today and that worked well. Now, maybe after a week, I get another request. I have to create 15 more organizations. In that case, I'll create a new organization event because my date has been updated. My effective date for the event, the reorganization event, has changed. If you're doing creating organization on the same date, you can continue to use the same reorganization event. A rule of thumb I follow is because throughout the course, you'll be creating a lot of things. And every configuration you do, you need to enter an effective date. Whether you're creating organizations, whether creating different plans, whether you're updating a report, you have to enter the effective dates. The rule of thumb that I follow is the month that we start the batch with the very first. Even if I start the batch on the 25th of September, everything I'll create in the system will be effective September 1st. I'll request each one of you that when you create things within the system, let's keep a uniform date for everything that you do. In some cases, the system does not allow you to go backdated, like updating a business process. It only allows you to create as of that date. In that case, it makes sense to just use that date, but whenever possible, use the date as September 1st. In the case of reorganization, click here and go to the Create Reorganization event. It will ask you for a date. Enter the date as September 1st. Enter the reorganization name. You can also add a description of what this reorganization is about. Creation of company cost center and location. If you're not familiar with this term, cost center is nothing but a bucket of money which organizations leaders are assigned that. This is the money that you have to use for all the expenses that happens under your leadership. This is a financial term very commonly used. And now it has created a reorganization event. I click. Now the create company task initiates. You have to give a name. Definitely all the fields that are marked as red aspects are required fields. That means you have to populate them. But the name is also something that you always have to add. Today we will create a new company as FlexCon. I'm just using this name because I think I read about this company, this product, maybe a couple days ago. It's in my mind. This is my keyword now. Likewise, the assignment, one which I said create company. You have to create a company, but with a name that is unique to you, that you will remember. Don't use your first name or last name, because there might be more organizations with that same name. To avoid that, use some unique name. You can use the first initial of your first name and last name. And think of the name as something not too complex, not too complicated that you cannot recall it. Keep it as simple as possible and follow that. Now code. We don't need to populate it because it automatically assigns a code to it. Subtype is where you define the subtype of that organization. In this case, it's a company. We'll use that. All these others are custom subtypes created by some of the other trainees, but this is the default one which is worked and delivered. Every organization type has a subtype which is worked and delivered, but you can add more to that if needed. It does not make much difference, but your reporting has an effect on it, and we'll discuss about that when we'll talk about reports. Visibility. You can either keep it to everyone, or there are other options as well which are not relevant at the moment because you have not completed security. and you need to define a default currency of the organization. Let's keep it USD if your headquarters is in the USD. And keep them as is, because assigned roles is something we talk in kind of deeper length at the time of security topic. But you can keep it as is. These are the only values that we need to fill in and the creation of a company. And this role assignees must be current members. This is the error. Definitely someone tested something and did not work well. Now you have created a company which is FlexGun Inc. It's of type company. I'll keep this tab open. Now the next thing I'll do is create a cost center. And again the task is simple. Create cost center. Now I can use the same reorganization event which we just created. CF on the score completely, loss for the CF on the scope batch, and something like this. I'll give the name of the cost center. Usually cost centers have some kind of naming pattern or naming convention that they use. Some organizations have an alphanumeric like 1000, CDO, well 100, director or something like this based on the business area or the department that you have. But again, you can keep it what you want, but you always have to be cautious about the naming conventions because that is what each of the consultant in your company have to be using. It's not like as a Workday consultant, in your team you are creating 1, 2, 3 cost center and the other one is creating cost center 6045. In the reports, it will look really messed up. You need to be careful on what the naming convention should be. For every cost center that we'll create, definitely we'll use our unique alias, which is FlexGun. And then, since you're creating a cost center, we'll do C, and some name. Let's say link22. We don't again need to create a code or anything. Subtype would be cost center, though you can have these others as well. Visibility, you can restrict it to only role assignees and members. What this will do is at least this call center will not be available to see for everyone. Even a standard, I won't say standard employee, but any employee in the organization will not be able to access these because these are financial cost centers and everyone should not have access to this. But this option will allow you to. Whoever is in the H, I will definitely have access, or whoever has a role assigned, like a manager or an absence partner, or a benefits partner or a payroll partner, will definitely have access to it. Pick any of the last few options. Difference again, you can skip this. You don't need to populate anything. Let's see if we have that person here. You can keep them as is. You don't need to worry about it. Just click. Likewise, just in some minutes, you have created another type of organization called a score center. Now you have created a company, you have created a cost center. The third thing is what we'll do is now we'll create a supervisor organization, which will be the top level, like the top node in our organization, from where all the other someone. This top node will be managed by the CDO of the organization. The task is create supervisory organization. I'll use the same reorganization event. I'll give it a name. Since this is the very first level, I'll give it as level 0. And any levels below I'll create. I'll put it as level 1, 2, 3 and as much below as I want to go. Again, we can leave the code. Now I'll check this box because then we'll start the hiring in the upcoming sessions. I want the manager name to be included. You will see once I create this organization, there will be a parenthesis automatically added in the end. I don't need to add it myself. It will be there automatically. And that is where, because I have enabled this box. Once I hire someone and assign them as the manager for this organization, the supervisory organization, that name will be automatically populated in those parentheses. And then you need to define the subtype, which would be, it can be department, division, enterprise, functional unit group. This is completely based on how your organization would like to be. But since we are creating the very top level organization, we can either put it as supervisory or department as well. These subtypes does not derive anything. But if you don't give the subtype, it will mess up your report. Look at a use case of that as well, maybe later in the session. Always put it as everyone, because these are like the organizations that everyone would see. Need to define a default location. Let's say I go with San Francisco. You see a lot of these here. A very common question that I get is, why do we have many? The reason is because this is a testing environment. Not only the Coney folks that you have in the sessions are testing, there might be 200 additional people for using this tenant for testing. They create things, which that's why I've requested you guys to anything that you create, use your initials, mark your identity in that you don't have a risk of anyone messing up your configuration. Not that you will mess up anyone else's configuration. I'll just pick up any option now, and in real-time world, you won't see these many options like 200 different type of San Francisco. No, you will only have one. I think I didn't the one. Now, since this is the top level organization, there are a few additional things that you need to define. One is a staffing model, which is the second chapter in this course. We'll definitely talk about that in detail. It allows you to type a position, models of staffing model. Start with the position management first as part of the assignment. And we'll talk about both of them definitely in detail, but for this demo, we'll work with position management. You don't need to assign any rules or identify, but this is important organization assignments. This is where you enter the name of your company, which you just created. Let's come in the constant and that created. Now you see how easier it becomes using the unique name that I have. I don't need to search for anything and just give me everything that is related. Let's go. Now, this is where that linking happens. You have created your top level organization. Now you're linking your organization under the umbrella of this company and associating it with this cost center. In the backend, these all are. Once I save this, these all will be connected. Anytime I hire someone in FlexCon level 0, that headcount we will also see in this company, and in this cost center. Therefore, supervisory organization has organization assignments. In fact, every organization has organization assignments, which are nothing but what by the name itself, these are the assignments. And these assignments are coming from different types of organization. For example, if I open, we have not created location, but that would be an assignment. Once you create a location and the location organization assignment tab, you will see different values associated with it. Same way, when we talk about supervisory organization, we have to assign these organization assignments just at the top level. Once you create subordinates, basically levels below, everything that you add here is inherited. And you can add these here as well. It's not going to make much difference since we are only a particular. You can also use this, but these are mostly used in case where you have multiple companies under the same company, for example, Google. The parent company is Alphabet. And Google is a much bigger. It's one of the child company, but there are multiple child companies as well under Google. In that case, you can enter. You will have multiple thousands of different organizations, but the top level, you can allow organizations here, but not needed in this case. Keep it as simple as possible. Use the default organizations. What this will do is, anytime you create a level below, they will automatically inherit these organization assignments. These organizations or assignments are nothing but your company cost center, location, region. I'll be creating a supervisory organization once I save this. Now my Flexicon level 0 has been initiated. It is inheriting Logan McNeil as a manager, but we'll change that once we start the hiring. You can ignore this for now. You see, this is of type supervisory, even though we selected the subtype as the department. But that does not define the type. That is just a subtype. That comes in the details. Your subtype is department with the type of supervisory. Your staffing model is position management and your organization. The third part of the assignment is create supervisory organization. Use a unique name. Follow naming convention like I have done, level 0. You can put anything we want, 2, 3, whatever you like, but focus on that naming convention should be scalable. And if you have to create more organization, you can continue to use that chain of naming convention. Again, don't use this thing. This was the hands-on that was meant for today. We have created a supervisory organization with the name Flexicon Level 0 Cost Center and Company. You already created the company. You can have different levels of company. Like in case of the example that I gave you for Google, you can have multiple companies, but they're rolling up to a top level, which is hierarchy 1. Then you have hierarchy 1.1, 1.2, or the one on the hand side. Both are the same thing, just a different presentation. Then cost centers, they track financial transactions and HCM transactions. The financial impact, such as hiring or termination, can be rolled up into cost center hierarchies for security and reporting purposes. Like you see here the visual on the left, all these 6 or all these 5 cost centers are rolling up to Susan Steinberg's cost center. And the cost center name is on the top of the orange bar. This is Global Support Center. The one on the left is 33,000 Global Support Center and on and forth. Employees are assigned to a cost center during staffing transactions. When you start hiring as part of the assignment, you are creating supervisory organizations. Going forward with our chapters, we hire people into those organizations. Once we start hiring them, we'll see that we'll assign them organization assignments. These organization assignments are nothing but your company and cost center, which we assign at the time of staffing transactions. And this is what that point means. But yes, a lot of it makes more sense once we do the hands on ourselves. Can be allocated or overridden for label distribution processes. This is if you are more into, if your organization is in the industry where you have unions and a lot of basically non-IT organizations. Not much relevant in this particular scenario. Cost centers can be used in eligibility rules and condition logic across applications. Not only cost centers, all the different types of organizations, whether it's a supervisory, its location, it's a cost center, they can be used in creating of eligibility rules and condition logic, which definitely we'll continue to discuss throughout our course, but more when we talk about compensation. And these are nothing but if-else logics. That if a cost center is equal to, let's say, 33,000 global support center, then if it's true or false, and based on that, action needs to be taken. Definitely something to see during compensation. Now, we'll keep things as simple as possible because that's the only way. Once you create the complete structure of the organization yourself and then visualize it, then we'll move on to some of the more advanced hands on topics like compensation, business processes, security. The region. Again, it's mostly similar to location, which we'll talk about once you create that. Now, matrix organization. It's a type of HR organization, different than supervisory, but what it does is it picks up employees from different supervisory organizations and put them into one organization. Let's go about the theory on this. Reflect dotted line relationships to a second manager. I'll explain that in a minute. They are non-hierarchical and are not related to a supervisory organization. Workers are manually assigned to a matrix organization. It's not like you are hired directly into a matrix organization. No, you are hired first into a supervisory organization. And then you are manually linked to a matrix organization. Matrix relationships are reflected in organization charts. Yes, that is true. The org charts. I'll also show what organization charts are. Again, can be used in eligibility rules and condition logics. In simple terms, what is a matrix organization? Visualize a team of people who works on special projects as and when needed. But all of these have their regular organizations as well. For example, if me and couple of folks from this particular batch works in the PMO office, like project management office, all of us are senior business analysts or business analysts. That is our regular profile, and we all report to different managers. Now a new project comes in which requires a specific skill set in a particular domain. And one of the leader decides that these three people, including me from the PMO team, should be the drivers of this project. What the request or the support case or the requirement that we have is create a matrix organization or create a special type of organization which will have these employees with a niche skill set which is needed for this particular project to be completed. And definitely this project will have a timeline. It's like maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. For that particular timeline, we are manually linked to another organization, which will be led by a new manager. We'll still continue to report to our older manager and also to the new manager in both cases, but the new manager, or we call them the matrix manager, can be given the security to the compensation, past job skills, experience, time off and leave, and work on history. But that person will not have access to, like performance management, time bonuses, stuff like that, which basically, promotions or demotions or transfers. They will have access to your compensation. They will definitely contribute in your performance because since you're working more than what is expected out of you on special project, definitely when the performance time comes, at that time they can definitely contribute outside the system, but they won't be involved in those processes. Basically, matrix organizations are used for cases like this, where you have people come together to complete a particular project. And that is how it works. And that organization looks like. It's like a dotted line altogether, and it shows the connection to a different manager. I think organizations which are more on the research side, maybe biomedical or pharmacy industry, might have a use case of this. But if anyone would like to try it out, you can definitely do a hands-on on this. What do we have next? Retiree. We'll talk about that at the time of change of transactions. That was all for today. Quite liked. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.